Fungus are involved in a lot of interactions with other organisms. So one of the most important roles of fungus is as a decomposer. So here you can see some Basidiomycota. Those are the club fungus growing on this like rotting tree. And fungus are extremely efficient. They have the ability to decompose cellulose, which is the fibers from plants. Those are the things that we can't decompose in our digestive system. And lignin, which is what makes trees very woody. And so without fungus, we wouldn't be able to get these compounds back into the non-living world. So this is important for chemical cycling. They help bacteria as well put things back into the soil, into the nutrients that we can then absorb them as plant roots and get it back into the life cycle. But these are critically important. If we didn't have fungus to help us decompose living things, we would not be able to have life on this earth because everything would be stuck. It wouldn't be able to enter back into a nutrient cycle. Fungus can also be beneficial. So plants have mycorrhizae, which I'm pretty sure I've said this word on every single video for this chapter. So mycorrhizae are extremely important. And it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, 5% of plants have mycorrhizae. It's more like 99% of plants have mycorrhizae. This is normal. Most plants can't grow without these. Some plant farmers will actually seed plants with mycorrhizae hyphae to encourage this mutualistic relationship. Plants also typically harbor harmless symbiotic endophytes. So endo means inside, phyte means plant, so it's inside the plant. So you can see some of these endophytes over here, and they're inside the plant cell walls. And these are going to help benefit the plants. They typically make toxins to help defer herbivores. They can increase tolerance for heat, drought, heavy metals, and help defend against pathogens like bacteria or viruses. Animals also can use fungus as a mutualistic relationship. This is common in grazing animals, so like cows and horses. They have extra parts of their guts full of fungus that help to break down plant matter so that they can get the resources from the plant matter that we can't digest. One example is the leafcutter ant. So instead of the fungus being inside of the leafcutter ant, the leafcutter ant actually has a fungus farm inside their ant hill where they can feed the fungus these leaves. So they cut the leaves and bring them to the fungus. The fungus digests the leaf. The leaf is actually toxic, so they can't eat the leaf on its own. But then what they do is they eat the swollen, nutrient-rich portions of the fungus, and that provides them with the food. Lichens are such a close symbiotic mutualistic relationship that they are actually considered an individual on their own. So even though this is a symbiosis between 2 or even maybe 3 species, lichens get their own scientific names because they're so distinct. There's 3 major types of lichen. So there's fruticose, which is kind of shrub-like. It almost looks like a little plant. Foliose, which I think looks a little like a crumpled aluminum foil. And then crustose. This is really tightly grown onto a surface, maybe a tree or a rock. Lichens are extremely important in ecological progression. So when there's an empty niche like a lava flow or barren rock, these are what we call the pioneer species. And so these are the first ones to get there, and lichens are able to actually start to destroy the rocks and turn them into soil, which is going to create environments for growth of other things. Fungi are also found in parasitic relationships where they are harmful. Most of the harvests around the world lose fruit to fungus every year. So you can see ergots, here the ergots on the rye. That's a fungal infection of rye bread that makes bread. Ergots have a lot of symptoms. They tend to cause gangrene, nervous spasms, burning sensations, hallucinations, and even temporary insanity. And they create what's called lysergic acid, which is the raw material for LSD. Here's a fungus on corn called corn smut. You definitely don't want to eat that corn. There are even funguses that infect animals. So Botrytis chytridum dendrobatidis is a chytrid fungus, and this is causing massive extinctions and die-offs in frog populations throughout the world. So generally this is called a mycosis. So that's a fungal infection of an animal. So some common human ones would be ringworm or athlete's foot and yeast infection. Remember, yeast is a group of fungus. We also use fungus for practical things. So we use fungus for making cheeses. If you've ever eaten blue cheese, we make bread and beer with yeast. We have developed antibiotics from things like penicillium, which is a fungus. And it makes sense that a fungus would want to be able to destroy bacteria around it, that it might kill it. So it creates antibiotic properties to be able to destroy bacteria. And we've harbored those to make penicillin. We are doing research into fungal applications for studying things like disease, insulin-like growth factor, which is a hormone in the body, as well as maybe even producing biofuels, so things that we could use for fuel rather than